Hello, BookTube. I've got some mail for you today on the last Friday of August. As predicted, a dodgy, rainy, on and off day here. The Bean and I were actually caught in the rain earlier today. Uh, that has otherwise been really good. A really good, productive day. All mental production, all reading and all writing, especially a lot of writing for money. Uh, but I'm tempted for it not to be all mental. I'm tempted to do some physical stuff as well. Because Hyde Cottage here is still a mess. It's still an absolute mess. It needs organization. Thorough, top to bottom organization. And, well, I'm not exactly the person to do that. I don't do it all that well. I lose interest. I don't see things that need to be done. I'm not all that good at that sort of thing, but I am still tempted. There are a whole bunch of things that I'm not going to try because they involve toting and lifting. A whole bunch of heavy objects, and I'd help you to dig, boys, but I've got this crick in my spine. so I won't be doing that. I will be leaving that for the next person who has the misfortune to be a house guest here at Hyde Cottage. But there's a lot of other stuff I could do. And of course, the backbone of all of it, at the back of all of it, is the eternal war with my own physical book library. I say eternal war, although I would like it to end. I would like it to have an ending, but it seems to just go on and on. I have hundreds and hundreds. I have resisted the urge to count them. I watched David Murphy's video where he was counting his videos, counting his books. And then he starts talking about the classics in his library. And I'm not the only person who watched that video. What's it, at 10,000 views? Something like that. When I saw that video, and I, of course, felt a momentary impulse to count my print and paper books. I tried to do that once before. I even had little sticky notes for each segment so I wouldn't have to remember the numbers going from place to place. And I just fell off. I just didn't do it. And even the idea of counting them, my point is there shouldn't be enough to make it a trouble to count them. There shouldn't be enough printed paper books here to make that troublesome to do. Considering how much I read electronically, when's the last print and paper book I read? I don't even know what it was. Okay, it's right up there. It was a full-color guide to the hummingbirds of Arizona. It's a slightly oversized thing. It's not a coffee table book, but it's a slightly oversized thing. Really gorgeous photography. Not only did I get it in that format, and I have to review it in that format, and I would only be responsible to my readers if I reviewed it in that format, because no one's going to buy this thing electronically. I'm sure it exists electronically, but they're going to want it as a book. Not only that, but it wouldn't have looked right on even an iPad. I couldn't have done a good job with it, but otherwise. I want to read a piece of trash for Garb August. Almost never will I go hunting around in my mass market paperbacks. I want to read a big, heavy work of history. It's almost not going to happen. If I find something that I don't have as an ebook, like Churchill's The River War, for instance, but. I'm not saying that I should get rid of my print and paper books, but I shouldn't have this many. I shouldn't be up to my ham hocks in them. So that's behind everything. That's at the back of all of Hyde Cottage reorganization, is getting rid of a few thousand books. But anyway, I'm resisting the urge to do that. All my activity today has been mental, except for walking the bean, where we got caught in the rain. That madcap, there's that ethereal moment where you're walking and those clouds don't look like they're kidding anymore. They look like they're here. And then maybe you start to hear raindrops in the tree leaves, but it's only once in a blue moon, and you think, okay, so maybe we're on the very edge of rain. Maybe it won't be much. And then they start to get a little bit more. They're hitting you. They're hitting your dog. You know now that the rain is actually picking up. It's now a kind of drizzle. And then your thought is, well, okay, is this all it's going to be, or is it going to get worse? Are we going to be walking for 30 minutes in a downpour? That was what we had to go through. It's not easy. being a frail old shut-in. anyway, let's look at the mail. We've seen a little mail recently, and a couple of you have been rather vocal about how you like me handicapping them for the review, of the purposes of reviewing. I've been doing that a few times, saying, well, if you wanted to pitch this to your local newspaper for a book review, first of all, does your local newspaper? Do you have a local newspaper? And if you do, does it have book reviews? Does it run original book reviews? I'd love to know. I'd love to ask every single one of you individually that question, so that I can get a lay of the land a lot better than some article. And if you have a local newspaper and they run local book reviews, does it have to be a local author? What would they do if you pitched them a review of the new Sally Rooney novel? What would they do? If you walked in, if it's that small, or if you emailed the editor, the art section or living section editor, whoever it is, and said, I would like to pitch a book review to you. Is there any chance? Is there any chance that would happen? I would like to think that there are still chances all over the place, but I'd love to hear from you on the subject. But I was handicapping some of these things along those lines. Just what I imagine is very antiquated advice, since I don't imagine many of those venues exist. Let's see what this first one is. Oh, okay, this comes out in early September. I'm going to have problems with my September shelf. I need a guest here, is what I need. I need a bookish guest who is good with moving heavy objects and good with the tedium of rearranging shelves. That's what I need. Where can I find a combination like that? This is by Alice Vernon, and it is called Ghosted, A History of Ghost Hunting and Why We Keep Looking. No idea why this is coming out in early September instead of late October. That's odd. I have to assume this is mostly American market. But anyway, let's see what we have here. This book is an illuminating and deeply researched history of spiritualism, with a capital S, and ghost hunting from the Victorian era through the World Wars and into the modern day. This book explores our fascination with the paranormal and explains how it is as timeless and as the ghosts themselves. Publishing right in time for Halloween and spooky season. No, it's publishing 2 months before Halloween. Dr. Vernon's research into the topic is both enlightening and haunting. Alice Vernon is an MD. Sorry. I promise, I'm not trying to make trouble with Hannah. It just comes naturally, that's all. Filled with true ghost hunting stories and phenomena, this book highlights the moments throughout history where spiritualism has peaked, an example being the World Wars, when many were losing loved ones and sought a way to connect with their spirits once more. The author discusses how spiritualists began their thinking around Darwin's On the Origin of Species, because evolution explained how humans are just one step in an ever-evolving timeline, opening up the possibility for the survival of a soul after death. There is nowhere in any edition of The Origin of Species, in any way, in even a single sentence, anything that opens up the possibility of survival after death. Nothing. There is not a single word anywhere in any of the book's editions that even remotely looks at that. So I don't know what this publicist who wrote this was thinking. Pray to God, or whatever gods may be, that is not the author. Sometimes the author has a heavy hand in this sort of thing. I don't want that to be the author, because that is completely false. Just completely textually false. Anyway, where were we? All right. Each chapter is drawn together from historical texts such as A Magician Among the Spirits by Henry Houdini, and Sir Oliver Lodge's Raymond, or Life and Death. The history of ghosts is ancient. Individuals have always looked to find a connection with the ones we've lost. Investigations into paranormal activity have developed hand in spirit hand with scientific discoveries, from ghost hunting kits to analyzing electromagnetic frequencies to Ouija boards, and now smartphone apps. The author questions why we have never stopped looking. Is it to help process grief, become influencers, or ease our fear of death? It can be all three. Okay, well, that is great. So this comes out in, right, let's see what, Dr. Alice Vernon is a lecturer in creative writing at Aberystwyth University in the UK. Don't tell me, let me guess. That has to be in Wales. Her debut book was called Night Terrors, Exploring Troubled Sleep in Literature and Culture. Her research focuses on parapsychology, sleep disorders, and the horror genre. She is a lecturer in creative writing at a university with more consonants in its name than vowels. But she's a doctor. Okay. Dr. Vernon. Very good. Well, this sounds like a lot of fun. Books like this almost always are. I will have to include in my review of this book the same throat clearing that you're expecting right now. You've been expecting it since you heard the title of this book. And I don't have to belabor it. I've been over this throat clearing many times on this channel, although keep in mind, there are quite a few people who are new to this channel. No idea why. I have no idea why anyone would watch this, but I'm not going to go down that road. But keep in mind when I point out here, there's nothing, absolutely nothing, not in any small particle scientific about this. There is no supernatural element to existence. Not just human life, existence. There is no supernatural element to existence. And if you're saying, well, how can you know that? How do you know that? I think there is. Prove it. You have to prove it. You are making the claim. The burden of proof is on you. If you tell me, if I tell you there are no purple giants that live just on the outskirts of your town. They occasionally flatten houses with their clubs. They eat whole fields of livestock. You're going to say, well, no, there obviously isn't. Obviously, we would know if that were true. That is definitely not true. I would say, well, you can't say it's not true. Prove that it isn't true. No, that's not how it works. As I have said many times before, I will try not to browbeat. Everything about you, your quirks, your personality, your memories, all of your prejudices, all of your selflessness, all of it, everything to do with you is the product of complex neural networks in your brain's tissue. This right here. Pound and a half of soft flesh in your skull. The end product of an enormous amount of natural history, of natural selection that Darwin describes in his book, where an early hominid species made the gamble, the ecological niche gamble, that evolving a gigantic brain would be a benefit in the long run. Probably that happened piecemeal, probably because the better you got at communicating in the field with each other, the more successful you were. Probably had nothing to do with thinking about the sunset or whatnot. But however it happened, it is there. It is a marvel of nature. But that tissue that sustains those neural networks, which are so staggeringly complicated, so staggeringly advanced, that you can shut down your awareness of that system for 8 or 9 hours at a time, and when that 8 or 9 hours lifts, everything's just where it was. Everything's just where it was. You're the same person as you were the day before. You remember everything. That tissue is an enormous energy drain. In evolutionary terms, it is a gigantic gamble for a species to develop a brain this energy hungry, because it's an enormous energy drain. And that energy comes in the form of oxygenated blood that is constantly being pumped into your brain from your heart. Your heart transforms the nutrients that you take into your body into oxygenated blood, and that goes to your brain along with every other part of your body. And if your brain is deprived of that oxygenated blood, it starts to die. It starts to die. It is the most sensitive tissue in your entire body, and if it is deprived of that oxygenated blood, it starts to starch and stiffen and grow brittle and die. And if it's deprived of that blood for 5 minutes, then you're gone. You are gone. Not your brain, you are gone. All of your memories, all of yourself, all of your history, all of what you find funny, all of that is gone. It can no more be reconstituted than a sunset from 10 years ago. It was gorgeous and lasted for 30 minutes. Sure, it was gorgeous and it lasted for 30 minutes. I'm sure a sunset in the Cretaceous period was gorgeous and lasted for 30 minutes. Can't reconstitute it. It's gone. It's gone. It was a product of the elements of its time, and it's gone. There's nothing, absolutely nothing at all, anywhere in your biology, but the only biology we're really concerned with here is the brain. There is nothing in the biology of your brain that is well known. There's nothing in that biology that hints at anything that can survive that process. Nothing. You are that process. When it dies, you die. You don't go somewhere, you die. So ghosts are a perfectly understandable manifestation because humans form attachments and cannot imagine their own death. They can think about their own death, they can worry about it in ways that other animals can't, but they can't really imagine that they are ever not going to be around. Why that is, I don't know. As Mark Twain famously said, nobody has any problem with the fact that for 14 billion years they weren't around in the past. They just can't imagine they're not going to be around in the present. And so they can't imagine that for their loved ones either, and hence ghosts. Anyway, as long as this book doesn't even hint at fact claims, we will get along just fine, and I will look at it for the fun that it is clearly meant to be. Spooky season. I will look at it for the fun it is clearly meant to be, unless it makes fact claims. Now that mention of origin of species in the pub sheet, keep in mind, it's just the pub sheet, it's not the book. But that mention of origin of species is dead wrong. It's just factually wrong. So at some point in this book, is the author going to think, well, we don't really know what happens after death? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. You want to say that something doesn't, that something else happens after death, you have to show it to me. You can't just claim it. You have to show it to me. And you can't. And please don't go on about so-called NDEs, near-death experiences. If you've researched them as much as I have, you would know there is nothing to them at all. No, and besides, even if we take into account the anecdotal weight of near-death experiences, that still isn't proof. Proof is testable. It's repeatable. It's measurable. There's nothing in you that survives your death. You are your body. You're not in your body. If this author starts to say, well, do I really know? Then we're going to tussle. But I'm accustomed to tussling with authors, so that's all right. Let's see what this next one is. Oh, isn't that lovely? Oh, my. Okay, we already saw this, but we didn't see the finished copy, which is beautiful. Oh, my. All right, this also comes out in September. This is Samantha Shannon, and when you hear that name, some of you might think, oh, God. All right, clear off the TBR, because she writes 1,000-page books. But no, this is her newest book is Among the Burning Flowers, and it's not long. It's short. It's a third the size of her previous 2 volumes in this series. And look at how gorgeous that cover is. That dragon is embossed. The spines up here are embossed. That is beautiful. Let's see here. Oh, and this has 10 black and white illustrations throughout, the pub sheet tells me. Boy, that you don't see anymore. Oh, wow. Look at that. Okay. All right. I'm spoiled already. I haven't read the advanced copy of this. I just have ignored it. So far, that's not good. Samantha Shannon returns to the New York Times multi-million copy best-selling The Roots of Chaos cycle with this book, which is a standalone novel set 2 years before The Prior of the Orange Tree. That's important. The reason that's mentioned first in the pub sheet is because that's important in terms of publicity for this book. The 2 books that precede this by this author are both behemoths. Anybody who knows that is going to think, well, I'm way behind. I cannot possibly buy this new one. And the main publicity point of this book is that this is a standalone. And it's set before the events of the last 2 books. So you can jump right in. You can read this. You don't have to commit to a 500, 600-page book. Let's see here. This book follows Morosa Fatalda, a captive crown princess of the divided kingdom of Yiskalen, her betrothed Aubrek Llewellyn, and dragon slayer Estina Malago, as the long dormant worms begin to rise. That's WYRMS. The shortest novel Shannon has ever written, this is an ideal on-ramp for new readers while offering longtime fans a deeper glimpse into the world's earlier, darker history. And the one major question about this that, as a reviewer, as your critic, I should be able to tell you, I can't yet because I haven't read it, but the one crucial question about this is, Prior of the Orange Tree was terrific. The last 2 books were terrific. Totally engrossing. They're way too drunk on 2016 Twitter politics, but it doesn't matter because Samantha Shannon is a heck of a storyteller. So I don't think you'll end up minding. You'll notice it, but you won't end up minding, I don't think. And the key question of this book is not that the publicist is saying that it's a standalone novel and therefore a good jumping on point. The key is, does it have the same magic as its predecessors? The key from Samantha Shannon's point of view as a successful author is going to be, is she making in this book new readers for Prior of the Orange Tree? And I can't answer that question because I haven't read this, but that'll be the question that's on my mind, definitely. All right, let's see what this next one is. Oh, it's another finished copy. That's good. More finished copies, the better. What is this? Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, my. Haven't you caused enough trouble already in this household? Oh, my. Okay, this comes out in early October. This is going to happen all over again. The exact same thing that happened last time is going to happen all over again. This is the finished copy of John Bacon's book, The Gales of November, the story of the wreck of the Edmond Fitzgerald. And when we saw the advanced copy of this on this channel a month ago, more than that, I knew right away when I was talking about it that it was going to put the mother of all earworms in my head, and it did. Gordon Lightfoot's song, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. And it not only did that for me, it also did that for David Murphy. It stayed there for the longest time. It does tend to do that. I worked hard to get rid of it. I used all sorts of songs in my arsenal to get rid of it, and nothing worked. Nothing really worked. I tried, what did I try? Tainted Love. Call Me Madam. I think I tried everything except my absolute A-bomb, the thing that I don't like to use because then I'm consigned to it for an entire year, is Bye 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 by NSYNC. And I didn't try that. Eventually it went away on its own, as earworms do. But I was emailing back and forth with the publicist about this book and complaining about that fact, and he was not exactly sympathetic. He was trying to get new earworms put in my head. I guess the point of that long and tedious digression here, throat clearing at the beginning here, is that if you're really young, first of all, that's cringe. But if you're really young and you've never heard The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, then go on YouTube and listen to it, so that you know what was getting your grandparents all so up in arms. Okay, so this book comes out on the 50th anniversary of The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. At the height of America's post-war boom, no region was more vital to the nation's economic strength than the Great Lakes. Yeah, you said that the first time. I thought maybe for the finished copy you would amend that to say after New England, but you apparently haven't. It was the beating heart of the global economy, possessing all the power and prestige that Silicon Valley enjoys today. That industrial dominance depended on Great Lakes freighters getting iron ore from the shores of Lake Superior to the factories in Chicago, Detroit, and Cleveland. Few endeavors have bound time so mercilessly to money as Great Lakes shipping did at its peak. And no vessel has been more perfectly designed to maximize both than the SS Edmund Fitzgerald. At 75 feet long and 729 feet long, the Fitzgerald was at the time of her launch the largest ship on the lakes, and she repeatedly broke her own records for the largest loads, the fastest runs, and the biggest season hauls throughout her career. She was a champion heavyweight, sprinter, and workhorse, all in one. With a load of iron ore, 26,000 tons more than the Edmund Fitzgerald laid empty. Oh, God, it started. Oh, God. But on November 10th, 1975, when the storm of the century threw 100-mile-per-hour winds and 50-foot waves on Lake Superior, the mighty Fitz found itself in the worst possible place at the very worst possible time. When she sank, she took all 29 men aboard down with her, leaving tragedy shrouded in mystery for half a century. In this book, the award-winning journalist John Bacon presents the definitive account of the disaster, drawing on more than 100 interviews with the families, friends, and former crewmates of those lost. Bacon explores the vital roles Great Lakes shipping played in America's economic boom, the uncommon lives the sailors led, the sinking's most likely causes, and the heartbreaking aftermath for those left behind, the wives and the sons and the daughters, as Gordon Lightfoot sang in his unforgettable ballad. All right, so this is what did we say? Early September? Oh, no, early October. So this is a ways to go, but I read the book already. I read the advanced copy and loved it. I'm going to read finished copy. The finished copy will have all the bells and whistles. It'll have a lot more illustrations. It might have, let's see, oh God, huge bibliography. Great. Fantastic. Okay, fantastic. So there's a lot for me to dig into here. And of course, I'm just going to give up. I am consigned now to have the wreck of the Edmond Fitzgerald in my mind, at least through September. I guess that's the risk you run, right? Because the islands and bays are for sportsmen. Oh, God. You young people have no idea. Half the people who are watching this video are thinking, oh, yeah, oh, my God. And the young people, the very young people watching this video, have no idea about this song. They don't know that it even exists. Go and listen to it. I don't know if earworms can transfer over generations. I really don't know if that's true. I think probably not. I think if a 21-year-old, for instance, went on YouTube and listened to a recording of Alexander's Ragtime Band, I don't think they'd think anything. I think, oh, what a quaint song. I don't think it would have any chance of being an earworm. But maybe the wreck of the Edmond Fitzgerald would. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Then we have this is another thing we saw a finished copy of. This is great. I'm getting finished copies of a lot of stuff that we've seen already. That's good. That'll fill out the shelf. This is Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of the internet. And this is for everyone, the unfinished story of the World Wide Web. This is the finished copy of something we've already seen. Now it was loaded with blurbs. Wow. Okay. Gordon Brown, Michael Bloomberg, Al Gore. Oh, that's funny. In the blurbs, we explain who these people are. Al Gore, former Vice President of the United States. Michael Bloomberg, founder of the Bloomberg and Bloomberg Philanthropies and former mayor of New York. Gordon Brown, former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. With Kate Bush, the singer Kate Bush, it just says Kate Bush Human. Very nice. Oh, wow. Okay, the sheet in here is all blurbs. Okay, so that doesn't help much. For those of you who didn't see it the first time, I want to describe this. So we'll just read the dust jacket, like we were in a bookstore together. Since its invention in 1989, the World Wide Web has changed everything, transforming humanity into the first digital species that we know of. Could be there was a digital species on Venus. Could be. Could have happened. We don't know that evolution by means of natural selection to the point of a technological species needs to take as long as it did with humans. We don't know that. We have only one sample. So we don't know if maybe it could be done in a third the time. Anyway, through the web, we live, work, dream, quarrel, and connect. It has launched a new era of creativity and collaboration while unleashing powerful forces that imperil truth and privacy and polarize public debate. As artificial intelligence supercharges the online experience, the stakes of understanding the web's origins and evolution and guiding its future have never been greater. That's what this book is all about. Thanks to a number of you who broke the rules. A number of you are rule breakers. I said in a video, I think yesterday, that I really wanted to learn about generative AI. I wanted to learn about what it was like to interact with it in text and maybe even visually. But I said at the end of the video, and I commented at the time when I was saying that, of course, I was saying it to an empty void because, as is well known, no one watches any videos, anything at all, past the first 60 seconds. It's just the business, kid. It's just the biz. I don't make the rules. Unless I'm making things up and pulling them out of my tuchus. I don't make the rules. So I just assumed that since I said that at the end of the video, no one saw it. And instead, I got bombarded with people who, look at that, we're exceptions to the rule, and did watch all the way to the end of a video. And I got so much great advice. So many great emails, so much instructive stuff, and also lots and lots of good links. It turns out, predictably enough, that your advanced AIs are advanced directly in tune with how much you pay. So if you want, what I want is a person. Where I open up a window on my desktop, and there is a person who is indistinguishable from a real person. They're moving around, they're talking, they're hesitating, maybe they're clearing their throat. But they're AI. And they are responding to me as I talk to them. And the more it goes, the more indistinguishable that comes from talking with an actual person. That's what I want. That's the kind of AI experience I want to see. And the impression I got from all the emails that I got, all the links I got, is that that is now reserved pretty much exclusively for people who are willing to pay through the nose for it. And I'm not. One person found me a link, sent me a link to a place where that kind of thing, at least rudimentarily, is free. And I had a 1-minute conversation with exactly that. A handsome young man who was talking to me, but was an AI. And I asked him a whole bunch of questions. He said a whole bunch of things that were clearly just scrubbed from the image of me on the little visual that he was seeing, or that was being relayed to him. You know, he said, that's an interesting painting behind you. Are those trees drawn from life? And I said, well, okay, there is a painting behind me, and you noticed that probably from the frame inside the wall, but it's not trees. And the AI immediately said, you're right, it isn't trees. And I said, yeah, it's not trees, it's a dog. And he said, yeah, it is a dog. Sorry, thank you for correcting me. That dog sure does look friendly. And I responded and said, no, the dog doesn't look friendly. The dog is asleep. And again, he thanked me for correcting him. And I ran out of time. I had like a minute free. And then I had to upgrade in order to keep talking to him, or maybe contour a different AI. That was enough to give me the willies and also to make me think. So yeah, this is for everyone. The future of this creation, fascinating. I'm going to leave the pub sheet in here mainly just because it tells me the date. It doesn't really do anything else for me, but that's all right. The date is the main thing I need. So I'm bulking up my September list. That's good. And then we'll do this last one. This video has gone long. They tend to do. Sorry about that. We've got 2 books here. Oh, great. All right, and both finished copies too. Boy, my September shelf could be in really good shape. What is that reflection, baby? If we put that up there, does that change things? Oh, it does. There we go. All right, so what do we got here? Okay. All right. Do you have pub sheets? Yes, you do. This first one is from Catherine Hanley, and it is called Nemesis, Medieval England's Greatest Enemy. What could that possibly be? Sanitation? I'm assuming it would be sanitation. Let's see what you have here. So when do you come out? This comes out in September. This comes out in early September. Philip II. Okay, so Philip II is who we're talking about. Ruled France with an iron fist for over 40 years, expanding its borders and increasing its power. For his entire reign, his counterpart on the English throne was a member of the Plantagenet dynasty, and Philip took them all on. Henry II, Richard the Lionheart, John, and Henry III. And yet we know so little about medieval's greatest enemy. He took them all on. He fought them all. Suppose I say that England and France are at war. Then France surrenders. I've looked for you, and I've spent the last 2 years on every street in hell. That's odd. I never saw you there. Historian Catherine Hanley, author of the critically acclaimed 1217, redresses this imbalance, bringing Philip out of the shadows and into this fascinating new history. He comes out of the shadows in every possible way, does he? It's possible for me not to read this book with a Lion in Winter in mind. That's just not possible. When Philip first succeeded to the throne in 1180, Henry II of England, thanks to his Angevin and Norman ancestry, as well as his wife's inheritance of Aquitaine, ruled more of France than Philip himself. What are you doing, baby? Hmm? Oh, thank you. Oh, you're such a sweet little baby. You are. You're such a sweet little girl. We got caught in the rain. I'm glad you forgive me. Do you want to get down? Is that what you're doing? You don't need my help. Oh, you can do that. Go ahead. Oh, baby. Okay, there you go. Sorry. Where were we? By the end of Philip's reign in 1223, the pendulum of power had swung the other way. Nemesis reveals how Philip exploited the constant family squabbles of the Plantagenets to secure his grip on France. His wily political maneuverings combined with a mastery of the English battlefield, turning France into a powerhouse of Europe. Fantastic. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna have to resist constantly quoting Philip in The Lion in Winter. I'm just gonna. We were hunting. It was nearly dark. My horse stumbled. I was thrown. I woke to Richard touching me. How Richard finds his way into so many legends. Let's hear yours and see how it compares. That would be unfair. That would be unfair to Philip and also to Catherine Hanley. She wrote a book about a historical person, not Timothy Dalton. And then what's the next one? Oh goodness. Oh my. Okay, this is also September. Yes, this is September. This is an author I don't think we've ever seen on this channel before. He's prolific. And he's really good. Preet Bhattacharya is his name, and this is Into the Reich, the Red Army's advance to the Oder in 1945. That's what he does with his books. He tends to do this. He'll take one discrete part of World War II and analyze the hell out of it, write a book on just that. He's done dozens of those. In January of 1945, the Red Army launched a powerful offensive across the Vistula River to drive the Wehrmacht back across Poland and into Germany, with the intention of securing a start line for a future operation that would ultimately result in the capture of Berlin and the end of the war. The defeat of German forces along the Vistula line was an important prerequisite for an assault on Berlin, but, as the author expertly reveals, there were other issues at play. Stalin was determined to push the boundaries of the Soviet Union further west, restoring land lost by the Tsars and securing vast industrial and mineral wealth. Sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? While negotiations took place between the Allied powers regarding the future fate of Poland, the Red Army burst through German lines and raced into Poland, liberating Auschwitz even as the Germans drove concentration camp inmates into the frozen roads in a series of death marches. I've read one book on those death marches that was harrowing. I mean, you know it's going to be harrowing anyway from the subject matter, but oh my God. Oh my God. I don't know how much detail there'll be of that in this book. Probably not. Mercifully, probably not that much. The Wehrmacht staged a desperate fight back with their last major armored offensive on the Eastern Front. Launched in February of 1945 from the German-Polish border, it did force a halt to the Soviet forces before the rush to Berlin. Written by a historian at the height of his powers, this is the definitive account of the strategic goals, both military and political, of Stalin, his generals, and their armies as they raced into the Reich, and of the German forces who stood in their way. And Preet Bhattacharya is a retired doctor who has written extensively on the Eastern Front and in both world wars. His books have been translated into Polish, Lithuanian, Estonian, Finnish, Italian, Hungarian, and Chinese. He's a keen wildlife and astrophotographer and lives with his wife in Kirkcudbright, Scotland. And this is going to be a $35 hardcover in September. Fantastic. I don't think I've ever seen a picture of Preet Bhattacharya. Look at that. There he is with some of his ponies. Okay. Well, this is fantastic. I try never to... This author is very prolific. I wonder if they give us a list. I try never to miss a book of his. But he's really good. There are all kinds of World War II historians, as you know perfectly well. Well, okay, we see a few of the books, but there are a lot more than that. He is very much a detail-oriented, very much an archive-oriented historian, which can be deadly, but he doesn't make it deadly. He's not a boring author. And this is going to be great. My only hesitation when I saw it is that obviously a copy of this should also go to the aforementioned David Murphy. So obviously, since much as I might like this book, he's the one who's going to write about it. So I'll have to see if he's going to get a copy of his own or not. That's great, though. That probably makes it onto the reading for tonight. So anyway, there we go. That is a mail haul, an engorged, incredibly tedious mail haul. But it had a wonderful freedom moment. That's the only thing any of you want. Uh-oh. Does my sarcasm against Frida cause a siren? Anyway, so we have Into the Reich. The Red Army advancing westward, pushing the Germans back, and the Germans desperately fighting against that. And you would too, if the two armies that you're fighting are the Allies and the Russians, one on one side and one on the other, you're going to be desperately fighting the one instead of the other. The Allies will just hold you accountable. The Russians. Then we have Nemesis, a short biography of Philip II. How amazing. We have This Is For Everyone, the finished copy of Tim Berners-Lee's book about the history of the World Wide Web. We have The Gales of November by John Bacon, about the wreck of the Edmond Fitzgerald. We have Among Burning Flowers, Samantha Shannon, a very short launchpad novel for her books. And finally, Ghosted by Alice Vernon, about spiritualism with capital S, and about the hunt for ghosts and the reason why people do that. All finished copies, and pretty much all September. I think we had one early October, so that's great. That's fantastic. That is changing the nature of that shelf up there. But like everything else here, that shelf is in complete disarray. It's in shambles. Everything here is in shambles. Everything. Everything is. You know what's not in shambles? You know what's not? My Kindle. The ebook, the 3 ebook apps, the 3 ebook libraries that I have on my iPad. Those aren't in shambles. That needs a pin. Anyway, I'll wrap this up for now, but I'll be back.